Good evening. This is Eswatini TV News Bulletin 8, read to you by myself, Statelessness, alongside Nemakabiso Nkambule. First up, here's a look at our headlining stories. His Majesty King Eswatini III has received letters of credence from the Kingdom of Spain and the Republic of Korea. The Minister of Home Affairs says the country will conduct a study on statelessness and its risks. The Speaker of the House of Assembly has described as fake news allegations that the House sittings have been suspended. And now our bulletin in detail. His Majesty King Eswatini III has received letters of credence from the Kingdom of Spain and the Republic of South Korea. Receiving the letters of credence at Lozita Palace, His Majesty expressed gratitude to both countries for the continued support of development to the kingdom.
The Spanish ambassador, His Excellency Alberto Cerezo Sobrino, arrived at Lozita Palace to present his letters of credence with warm and cordial greetings from His Majesty King Felipe. The Kingdom of Spain is presently supporting Eswatini through the European Union and financing relevant projects and initiatives. The country is also deeply committed to consolidating support to the regional organizations of the African continent, such as the African Union and SADC, as the Kingdom of Eswatini is a member of both organizations. Presenting his letters of credence to His Majesty King Eswatini III, His Excellency pledged cooperation in all matters of common interest to both nations.
I am happy to be in your hospitable, diverse, and rapidly developing nation. Since I first came here 12 years ago, I have been warmly welcomed by your people, and I have had the opportunity to get to know your fascinating culture with its typical kindness and hospitality. Since my nomination by the Spanish government, I have tried to get a deep knowledge of the economic, political, social, and cultural dimensions of Eswatini. Spain and Eswatini hold a fruitful understanding, and Spain's wish is to develop and strengthen our ties in every field of our bilateral relation.
Addressing the ambassador, His Majesty King Eswatini III thanked the Kingdom of Spain and other members of the European Union for the continued support to the Kingdom of Eswatini. His Majesty further added that it is very gratifying to note that the support has been going on for a very long time.
Spain and the Kingdom of Eswatini, of course, now been friends for many years, and we have developed mutual respect for each other. We support each other in many different areas, including the many international organizations. We are also very grateful that Spain do support the African initiative, which also include here Eswatini. As you've just mentioned, that Spain has made the African Union as one of the priorities in terms of support and so on.
The ambassador of the Republic of Korea, His Excellency Yeo Sang-jun, arrived at Lozita Palace with his delegation to present his letters of credence to His Majesty King Eswatini III. The Republic of Korea has greatly assisted the Kingdom of Eswatini in many ways. Just recently, the country provided the kingdom with ambulances and has now pledged to provide vehicles of a value of $200,000 and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. Presenting his letters of credence, the ambassador assured His Majesty that during his term, he will engage in heartfelt aim to develop the relations between the two countries. Addressing the ambassador, His Majesty King Eswatini III said the kingdom is grateful that the Republic of Korea is making efforts in assisting the kingdom in development. His Majesty assured cooperation and commitment to both countries. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Tabiso Dlamini at Lozita Palace.
The Minister of Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, says soon the country will conduct a study on statelessness and its risks to ensure that everyone in the kingdom is registered in government's database in order to have easy access to services. The minister said this during a workshop to sensitize members of parliament about the study at Hilton Garden Inn in Babani.
Government, with the support of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, is conducting the qualitative study on the risk of statelessness to ensure that everyone is in the government database. The Minister of Home Affairs, Princess Lindiwe, explains why the country needs such a study.
This national study in particular is quite a huge project because it comprises of both quantitative and qualitative research components. The Kingdom is signatory of the Statelessness Convention and is also among the first countries within the SADC region that have come up with a national action plan to prevent and eradicate statelessness. Therefore, the outcome of this much anticipated study will have an immense impact on the implementation of the National Action Plan on Statelessness. Special appreciation is also extended to our parliamentarians for their commitment to help us realize our goal of preventing and eradicating statelessness in the kingdom. As key stakeholders, members of parliament took it upon themselves to ensure that consultative forum becomes a reality.
The Speaker in the House of Assembly, Petros Mavimbela, says Parliament supports the study.
Parliament remains committed to work with the government in addressing the global issue of statelessness as part of our overarching commitment to champion human rights and dignity. The problem of statelessness is rooted in the relationship between a government and an individual. The consequences of statelessness can have a dire impact on almost every aspect of a person's life.
The Worldometer reveals that currently Eswatini has over 1 million people. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ndlangamandla with Muzi Mkonda in Babane.
The Minister for Tinkhundla and Development, David Ngampalala, has praised the Taiwan Embassy for its continued commitment to assist the ministry in meeting development targets in communities over the years. Ngampalala was speaking during a presentation of 10 sewing machines from the Taiwan Embassy to the Sikwe constituency on Thursday.
The Minister for Tinkhundla and Development, David Ngampalala, says all projects that bring development to communities are at the heart of the Tinkhundla system decentralization policy, in that it enhances the participation of all people towards economic development. He says the ministry is committed to maintaining a good relationship with the Taiwan Embassy and other country stakeholders in bringing development in communities.
Nalo uhlelo lwethu lesithi decentralization levele sithi lemisebenzi ayiye kubantu namhla ke labo make labala ngenhlanhla yethu lenhle sebavele bayile kuyotrainwa incenye yabo lebomathap vele imshini nje lengeke usacabanga ukuthi bataba nenkinga kuyo so ubonile wena kunene la sengce khona ukuthi sithe masiyinkundla sasukela ukuthi asakhe emahola ngenhlanhla lamahola sahlala phansi sakhuluma nemntwana enkosi Gasa wangwane ukuthi lamahola akungabi ukuthi emgcibelo kuphela lapha yawusebenta khona lamalanga anganamihlangano enda siyethemba nje ukuthi live lengwenyama ngale nqubo yetinkundla vele ngeke hlale lingathuthuki.
The senior secretary of the Taiwan Embassy, Zhang Shuo, says the embassy will continue in assisting the ministry in bringing economic development to the people.
We are happy to bring 10 sewing machines to Sikwe to support the Tinkhundla system in economic development for Sikwe. Again, we are so happy to meet the local people to show our appreciation and also our happiness to the local people.
The 10 sewing machines will be evenly distributed to the 5 chiefdoms under the Sikwe constituency. For Eswatini TV News, Sifiso Ngumalo with Smova Shongwe at Sikwe constituency.
Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade Manqoba Khumalo has expressed his appreciation on the use of industrial rebates in the SACU region as one of the key instruments to promote industrialization and strategic integrated value chains. Khumalo said this in a statement that was released to the media following a bilateral engagement with his South African counterpart, Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition Ibrahim Patel, which was held virtually on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, 19 May 2021, Minister Manqoba Khumalo had a virtual engagement with his counterpart from South Africa, Minister Ibrahim Patel. The main objective of the engagement was to discuss and give a guidance to officials regarding the implications of the implementation of the rebate item of yams and textile and the South African sugarcane master plan to the textile and sugar industries in Eswatini. Minister Khumalo expressed his appreciation of the use of industrial rebates in the SACU region as one of the key instruments to promote industrialization and strategic integrated value chains. He, however, pointed out that the conditions that are attached to the utilization of the rebate items of yarns and textile may not achieve the desirable results of all SACU member states. Specifically, he stated that the condition that requires that the final manufactured textile product must be sold in the country where the rebate has been issued essentially defeats the spirit of custom union, where goods are expected to move freely without undue and onerous restrictions. With regards to the South African sugarcane master plan, Minister Khumalo stated that Eswatini found the tone of the plans disturbing as it proposed to display Eswatini sugar from the South African economy. In response, Minister Patel gave assurance that it was not the intention of South Africa to displace Eswatini's products from their shelves and to replace them with either similar South African products or other foreign imports. The ministers agreed that in order to come up with amicable solutions to these two issues, there was need to further engagement involving the participation of the private sector from both sides and the exchange of more trade and related data. The ministers had an exchange on the issue regarding cooperating in the procurement of COVID-19 related vaccine, agreed that after consulting with their respective colleagues at Health and Finance to vigorously pursue this matter in their next bilateral engagement. Also forming part of this engagement on the Eswatini side were Principal Secretaries Boniso Nkambule and officials from the Department of International Trade in the Ministry of Commerce in the Republic of South Africa. For Eswatini TV News, Zodwa Dlamini, Babane.
The Speaker in the House of Assembly, Petros Mavimbela, says the social media reports alleging that Parliament is temporarily suspended are not true. Speaking during an interview at Hilton Garden Inn in Babane, Mavimbela says it has always been a norm that when the Public Accounts Committee is in session, the House sittings take a short break.
Following media reports that Parliament has been suspended, the Speaker in the House of Assembly, Petros Mavimbela, says there is no truth to such reports.
iParliament ikakhulu indlu yabayisikhulu ukuthi isuspendiwe ngithi ngiqondisile ukuthi asithathe indaba lithi kanjalo thina libandla lakithi lePAC likuchemba liyasebenza phinze futhi nawo emalungu eParliament nje usukabona nje nakho sila kule workshop shokuna ukuthi konke kahle kude lo suspend umsebenzi weParliament. And uma ukhuluma ngeParliament ukhuluma ngento into imbili itoro nje timpunga behlangene lokusho kona ukuthi konke kukahle nokuthi emaswati kakhululeke kude iParliament lesuspendiwe iParliament yasebenza benena.
Parliament has issued a press release notifying members of the public, individuals and stakeholders as well as organizations that the Finance Portfolio Committee in the House of Assembly will be conducting public hearings on the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill of 2020 and the Tax Administration Bill of 2020. Those interested in making oral or written submissions are urged to call the committee clerk Treasure Shabangu on 7615-8588 or 2416-2407 or email treasureshabangu@gmail.com. The deadline to indicate interest in making submissions is next Friday at 4 p.m. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ngamandla with Themba Shabangu in Babane.
Water Aid has financially supported to the tune of 3.6 million emalangeni, a project aimed at combating climate change and ensuring clean water supply in the Mbuluzi River Basin project. The project has already started and will be complete by December this year.
Climate change has disrupted livelihood around the world, with Eswatini not spared. The Department of Water Affairs under the Ministry of Natural Resources has an ongoing program at Mbuluzi River which seeks to address the impacts of climate change. Due to climate change, there's been a decline in rainfall which will have negative impact on water resources in the country. The project has been funded by Water Aid with 3.6 million in Malangeni. The Director of Water Affairs, Trevor Shongwe, says they aim to develop strategies and plans that will assist in the implementation of plans to mitigate the negative impacts of climate change.
Most of the dams at some point were then spilling, starting from Hawane, which is also sitting in the Mbuluzi Basin. It actually spilled over a short space of time because it is not a major dam. But always we have a challenge with our Makuka Dam. And then people started asking to say, we are seeing all these other dams now, they are overspilling. At that time, Makuka Dam was around 32%. And we gave the assurance to say, we note the character of the dam. It is a dam that is sitting within a big basin. It is actually a dam that has been under-optimized.
The Water Aid Country Director, Ngamiso Mhlanga, says they will continue supporting government's initiative of supplying clean water in the country.
Us as Water Aid, working with the Department of Water Affairs, we are tirelessly working around this issue of addressing climate change in the different basins that we are working in. Hence, this project has been launched, which is a project of about 3.6 million emalangeni, which is going to address aspects of planning mainly in the Mbuluzi River Basin.
The project has already started and they project that it should be complete by December this year. Some of the key components of the project include identifying and installing groundwater monitoring equipment. With 80% of Eswatini with clean water supply, the Water Affairs seeks to achieve sustainable goal number 6. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB at the Mountain Inn in Mbabane.
Manzini Regional Administrator Chief Gija has urged Eswatini to be vigilant of the COVID-19 regulations, especially the gathering of people in larger numbers, which can be a breeding ground for COVID-19. He says the third wave has affected neighboring countries, therefore ensuring compliance will still be maintained through the Operation Volpa campaign.
Following the public announcement by the acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku on the safety of the nation from COVID-19, the Manzini Regional Administrator Chief Gija says it is very important for Eswatini to comply to the COVID-19 regulations, especially those from Manzini, because it was marked as a red zone. He says if neighboring countries are already experiencing the effects of the third wave, it is the same as having it in the country because Eswatini indulges in trade, hence the spread of the virus is inevitable.
Iqiniso lelikhona lithi singimanzini asikahlali phasi ngoba Solomon akashiwo lokuthi sewuphelile umkhuhlane. Solomon siyaphuma siyakhuluma la ngaphandle noma singase effective njengoba siphuma sibambe ama roadblocks sibhiqale nemaphoyisa kuja solo siyakhuluma kubantu ukuthi umkhuhlane awukaphele. Siyabona ke abantu banekucabanga nasibukako ukuthi lokho lethu nombolo sisethi phansi kangaka na uhulumende asacekisile lesihilelo bekasifasile lokusekusho ukuthi mhlawumbe sowuphile lo mkhuhlane sisetha ukukhulumisana nemaphoyisa bese futhi siyakhulumisana naso sive ukuthi uthini health ngoba nguye lo dross inthambo lembili ukuthi asente kanjani ukuze sitokhona sisiphephe.
Chief Gija says the initiative to ensure compliance, Operation Volpa, was put on hold following the easing of the lockdown restrictions and the decrease of the COVID-19 cases. However, it will be revived to control the spread of the virus. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Nomalungelo Jele with Giyani Msibi in Manzini.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Labour, Thulani Mkhaliphi, says the annual International Labour Conference will address issues including inequality at work, social security, lifelong learning, amongst other topics. The international conference will be held virtually this year.
The International Labour Conference is held annually at Geneva. Due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the meeting could not be held last year. During a meeting with social partners and a virtual ILO meeting for the new chairmanship, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Labour, Tulanim Kadibi, says the Labour Conference will be held virtually this year. Topics to be discussed include social protection, amongst other topics.
The main issues that will be discussed in this conference, mainly those that concern social security, issues that concern life skills and lifelong learning, issues of inequality in the world of work, and of course, there are the regular ones that are discussed in the conference, which is those ones that relate to the Committee of Application of Standards. The Committee of Application of Standards is a very important supervisory body of the ILO, because that is the body where, if there are issues coming up from member states, are discussed, issues where if transgressions or maybe perceived transgressions have been reported to it. So member states are then required to make representations on those issues.
The Ministry of Labour and its social partners will utilize the Royal Science and Technology Park because of its high technology standard. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi with Nomalungelo Chele, Matsapa.
The National Disaster Management Agency's Program Director Victor Matlalela has urged the general public to take good care of the water tanks that were provided by government to be used for hand washing during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic, because the virus is not yet over and reports have revealed a possibility of a third wave, which has already hit some countries. Matlalela said this during an interview with Eswatini TV in Zulwini.
The Deputy Prime Minister's office, in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, facilitated a meeting which is aimed at compiling a report on how far the country has gone in issues related to the rights of the disabled persons in Eswatini. This report will be submitted to the United Nations. According to the Director of Social Welfare in the Deputy Prime Minister's office, Cindy Dube, says this proposal will allow the country to be able to request for funding that will support programs that are strictly for the disabled. Dube says the Deputy Prime Minister's office is pleased to meet with the different stakeholders where issues of the disabled were being shared by the disabled persons.
Kusukela kulo 2012 live lihambe kanjani onke amatiko ekusebenzeni indaba yabantu abakhobatekile, kwase kufika ke nayo opportunity ukuthi sesingenda ne proposal sibambisene nayo yonke iUN system kangwane. Proposal etawuletha ukuthi kube nelusido letimali etingonini letinengi tema programs abantu abakhobatekile.
UNFPA's officer in charge, Margaret Twala, says the proposal meeting will allow that the country be able to look at some of the gaps that need to be addressed.
Khona timali mhlabhlangene lakade tfolile sa apply njenga August Eswatini wa shortlist among 26 countries. So nyalo ke sesithi ke ngoba ang3 lama activities noma ngathi lokufuneka sikwende kwekuthi siqale lona lama organizations nema partners lafaka uhulumende na emhlabhlangene netinhlangano etingaphansi kwahulumende sikhulumisana ngalomthetho lona ukuthi ngabe ma gaps la khona yini.
According to the 2019 report by the Deputy Prime Minister's office, the country has made great strides in ensuring that the disabled are not left behind. These programs include the Braille translator that produces books and information for the blind, among other programs. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Kiari Msibi in Matsapa.
Good evening once again. You are still watching Eswatini TV. Let's have a look at our sports news. Former National Football Association President Isaac Shabangu says whoever will be elected to be the next Football Association President must prioritize sponsorships and academies in all different regions of the country. Shabangu headed the organization as president from 1991 to the year 1993.
It seems as the new look at the National Football Association head offices will inspire the new president to make different changes that will contribute to the development of the football in the country. Ahead of the elections this July, former Football Association President Isaac Shabangu, who led the organization between 1991 to 1993, he believes whoever that will take the seat of presidency has a lot to offer and sacrifice. Shabangu says that issues of sponsorship for the longest time have held the growth of the local football in the past. The new president must ensure that there is a need for that priority. Shabangu also believes that he must try and work to instruct clubs to have academies, which will be another item that will contribute to the development and success of the national team.
Second division yayo idevelopele kube sinathi imali ngangithi funa sibe na academy.
Shabangu concluded applauding the work done by former President Adam Boba Msetwa as he was his Secretary General during his time as President. He also wished all the best to all candidates that are currently standing in for the elections. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msunera, Mbabane.
Secretary General of Eswatini Rugby Union Bongosi Dlamini says the association has started programs of capacitating teams and officials on how they plan to resume their seven-a-side tournaments under the current conditions of the coronavirus pandemic. Dlamini was speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in Mbabane.
Recently, Eswatini Rugby Union announced that to the return of the activities, their priority will be mostly to host seven-a-side tournaments as they present less chances of spreading the coronavirus pandemic.
Ama-sevens ngona lacishe akahle, cishe angcono aphephile. Egroundini nje lelikhulu siyakhona ukudlala siphelele siphephile.
According to the association's Secretary General Bongosi Dlamini, training on how they plan to get back to actions are in progress. Dlamini says mostly it is to emphasize on how they will be hosting their games under the current conditions of the pandemic.
Wekwenda ukuthi abantu bafunze ukuthi how bangenda njani ukuthi babile badlale kangconywana. Senda ke nekufundisa abadlali safundisa nabo coach.
Dlamini concluded, highlighting that the national team will be the first in action between the month of July to September, where they will be playing in the World Cup qualifiers against the likes of Cameroon, Burundi, Rwanda, and Botswana. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
Well, Eswatini, that's all for now. Before we conclude, let's have a look at our top stories. His Majesty King Mswati III has received letters of credence from the Kingdom of Spain and the Republic of Korea. The Minister of Home Affairs says the country will conduct a study on statelessness and its risks. The Speaker of the House of Assembly has described as fake news allegations that the House sittings have been suspended. And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from us here at Eswatini TV. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Pick and Pay Eswatini ukulethela i-price knockout. Fully PNP stewing beef bone-in na 77.99 kilogram. Thenga amakitale large X60s na 79.99. Fala nenhlanganisela 10 kg top score super maize meal, 5 kg first golden brown sugar, 10 kg Sun rice, 2 liters Sun cooking oil, ne 5 kg umbuluze IKF chicken portions. Kuthenga konke kokuhlanu nga 390 emalangeni. Phuthuma, lenda le malanga lamathathu kuphela. 21 kuya kumhla ka 23 May. Pick and Pay. Banqobi benzebo.
It's Spar Rewards winner card time, and you could be turning your shopping into one of 50 limited edition Hyundai Grand i10s. Plus, get incredible deals like 5 Roses tagless tea bags for just $34.99 and Baker's Murray biscuits. Buy any 3 for only 30 emalangeni. Remember, every participating product you buy gets you another entry to win when you swipe your Spar Rewards card. Spar Rewards winner card. Now on.